welcome back to Final Sector. Yet again, we got another preview 2 of 3 of this little trip-aheader that we got going on here. And we are heading, not across the pond, but across the border, I guess, into
controversial.
Mexico. Yes, we are returning again to Mexico, a track that F1 used to come here a long time ago under a different configuration, then was kind of away for a while, and has now been here, I don't know how long now. It feels like maybe a decade or so, but certainly we've been here, it feels like, it's been a little bit now. So we've got an idea of who's maybe stronger here, who's weaker here. This is a unique track in that it is very high above the sea level.
Yes.
Historically, that has favored some power units really well and actually hurt other power units. This is really the track where, you talk about aero, you've got your Monaco, your Singapore. You actually talk here about your engine limitation or your engine efficiency. So I expect that will play, yes, a very big part this year, and will be very important considering we have those tight battles both for, second down and for those battles with the lower teams too. There could be, some considerable points on offer as well if some of those teams have a favorable package coming in here. But is this a track that you usually enjoy? What are you looking forward to here? Or are you hoping we skip it and move on to Brazil?
I don't. I think it like you say, it definitely throws up some interesting things because it is so high above sea level. The air is so much thinner. They can't get as much air in for cooling, so that's why you get a lot of those failures, and you just can't get enough air in the intake. Normally, that means power's slightly down as well.
Yes.
So it does throw up a few challenges. The actual track layout itself, that first straight is like stupidly long as well, particularly on the run down to T1 off the line. We've seen a lot of battles. Down into T1.
Often a good one for race starts.
Yes. Yeah. But and then we also have that sort of turn 3, that sector 3 complex, that real slow, really clunky
Stadium
complex.
Section, I think they call it,
Which, even last year we saw that on qualifying laps you just lose all grip. You've burnt through all the tires, and you got to try and get through this real technical clunky section with like worn, really hot tires, and you're just a big slidey boy through there. So it does throw up some interesting things. I wouldn't say it's it sort of slipped under the radar for me in the sense that I always sort of forget we're going here, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is the track that we go to.
I think this is a circuit. Look, I do remember this one from last year because I remember it probably being the worst race of the year in terms of nothing really happened. We talk about some power units, not powder units,
Yes.
power units being stronger or weaker here. Traditionally, the Red Bull and therefore the Honda has been quite good here. In past years, that Red Bull car, when it hasn't been the quickest car, is often the one that actually makes the race quite interesting because this is a favorable track for them. They've had good battles with the likes of Mercedes and the Ferrari, and that's often, spiced it up a bit. Whereas if Red Bull are the one ahead, this is kind of like a freemium kind of pass for them. So I would be very surprised if we had a tight battle at the top. I guess the main question mark, look, we can start to go into it a bit, right, in terms of different teams. The Ferrari engine has historically been
pretty
bad around here.
I think it was like their worst, like last year, it was like one of their worst races.
They basically said it was their worst, and all their customers said it was horrible.
Yeah.
They've kind of been in an engine freeze, so that's unlikely to change.
Yep.
With that Honda being powerful, again, it should maybe just be a free pass for Max, but the Mercedes, has always been middle ground here, so there still could be something. We hope, maybe you got to remember the McLaren and the Mercedes are both on that engine. Yeah. So there could still be hopefully some good battling, hopefully a tense qualifying. We hope it's not too sleepy a weekend here.
You forgot who else was on that Mercedes engine? Aston Martin.
Martin,
they'll be back. They're coming back.
If there's one race for the rest of the year that they're going to do something,
it'd probably
they've
be
learnt
here.
their lessons from Austin. Hey, if you had to put money on them, this would probably be their best bet. But yes, so there's a little bit going on out there. Given that we only have 4 races left in the year, I believe this is the fourth last. If I've done my math correctly.
That's correct.
And we still have 1 sprint to go and a circuit that we've never been to before. A lot of teams still haven't run their rookies, so there is quite a batch of rookies coming here. I believe I had
4.
Yeah, I saw 4 noted, but I can only see 3 names. So you've probably got the 4th that I've missed.
I got the updated info.
I'll give you the 3 that I've got. Maybe we'll
I know which one you
find 5,
don't
and
have.
I found one that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I have for Ferrari, we have Oliver Behrman.
I saw two different sources. One was saying Ferrari, one was saying Haas. So I don't know which one's correct. And I think,
but same driver, but could go to either of those.
yeah, I don't
Is that what
know.
you're suggesting?
Yeah, it's still Oliver Behrman, but I just don't know if it was Ferrari or Haas. So
Okay.
I don't actually know until I get more info. But I had two different sources saying two different things. So
I guess we'll have to see. Yes. I guess I don't know who Haas would run. There was a side note which I saw on this site I was looking at, that apparently I forget what his first name is. The Fittipaldi Jr., the one that's been the Haas reserve for a number of years.
Oh, Pietro, sorry.
Pietro. Apparently he's moving on from the reserve driver because he signed an IndyCar deal.
That's right.
So I did see that, and I don't know if that's why things are changing around or if it's coincidence, but you mentioned Haas, and I figured, hey, I did just read that, so maybe we'll mention it. But so in the Ferrari or the Haas, I mean, either way, again, they have to run. Both teams have to run someone. So for all we know, there could be more names here, right? I think the others that are more locked in was Frederick Vesti for the Mercedes, which will be driving George Russell's car. And Jack Doohan will be doing his second run in the Alpine, as he did his first run. I think it was in Monza, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember. But
Yes.
probably. The one I saw recently was Isaac Hadjar is supposedly in the Alpha Tauri this weekend.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Yeah,
Okay.
which would make sense being, Red Bull program, blah, blah, all that. So, I saw that very recently. I didn't confirm it, but it would make sense. Like you say, a lot of teams haven't run even one. They have to run two. They're not going to do it at Brazil because that's sprint weekend, and they're not going to do it at Las Vegas and new circuit. So it's here in Abu Dhabi. That's
and they're almost certainly going to do one in Abu Dhabi. So therefore, if they haven't done it this year, has to be it. So that's we'll probably see a few more pop up as of the time of recording midway through the week. Given that it's a back-to-back again. All of that news doesn't come up until the teams start arriving, and then the media goes, "What are you doing?" They go, here's our plan," right on that Thursday evening almost. So be on the lookout for FP1. You might get to see some of the stars of the future. It might be a good session to see some different lids out there.
I wonder, actually, this is a good point, because I had another point before I even go into my random thought that I had. I wanted to point out, this weekend it is also the Super Formula weekend, and Liam Lawson could win it. So I just wanted to say, hey, that's cool. Maybe we should pay attention to that, because if he wins that, then that could have ramifications for next year. But because Liam Lawson technically has run, AlphaTauri have run like 5 drivers. Do they need to?
Yes.
Do they need to, they've run Lawson in an FP1 section?
Yeah, I don't know if it
Do
counts
they need
as
to?
his. I think it's pretty strict. I think it's trying to say you have to have a young driver in FP1 specifically in 2 FP1 sessions.
Okay, yeah, and I guess because Lawson came in as a full
race
replacement.
driver. Yeah, would be my. I could be wrong. They may even try to argue it.
Yeah,
but I believe the spirit would be give like a real rookie a chance that's never had a chance in the car before.
I don't know. Just a random thought I had. I'm just
they
like,
may.
maybe
Maybe onto something. Good point. And also good something else to keep track of. I don't think he missed any weekends in that series filling in. I guess if he's
I don't think he did. No, because I think there was a long gap between the last round, which is at Suzuka.
Yeah, because they normally start pretty early in the year, so they have that bigger gap towards their final round coming up. I believe that Pirelli are also doing another tire trial here of their C4 compound. We've seen a little bit of this through the year, so it's nothing that big. Every team will probably just run it for one of their stints and give some feedback.
It is a little bit more interesting, this one though.
Okay,
because
you've got the juice.
Yeah, this is what I was like when we were going to record yesterday. I had one source on it and no confirmation.
Okay.
Had updated source, like a lot of sources have talked about it now. FP2 is going to be extended by 30 minutes. They're going to a 90-minute session for FP2 to try and encourage tire testing on this one, because I'm guessing this is probably the last chance they get. So they're going to get every driver. Is it every driver or every team? I assume it's driver. They get 2 sets of those trial C4 tires. And they're adding an extra 30 minutes to FP2 to try and encourage drivers to actually go out on that tire.
Sure.
So, and I guess on tires as well, they are bringing 1 stage softer from last year. So they brought C2, C3, C4. They're bringing C3, C4, C5. So maybe that could change pit strategies and things. And Could throw up some things for qualifying.
Yep.
Who knows? But yeah, few little things, but it kind of adds up to a lot this weekend. A lot going on.
Yes, yeah, and apparently it's going to be nice sunshine for the race as well and for the weekend.
Yep.
Not a super hot one. They said it should be about 24 to 25 degrees air temp. So actually a pretty nice chill day. So even though they will have some of those cooling concerns, it won't be through the roof levels of Qatar level of heat going on here that we've got a problem with. So I guess we've talked a bit about teams in that and where they think they might fall, but it's still kind of tricky because, hey, you still haven't used your max card here, but based on what we've said, for any race in the year, this is a very bold one if you choose to think there's going to be an issue for him. But even second down, I think, is still quite a bit tricky here, especially because Austin seemed to shuffle the kind of trend we've seen over the last few races. So now it's even kind of more in the air. But we do have to go over how we did in Austin with our predictions. As we mentioned, of course, the disqualifications do not reflect the the point change. I'm kidding. So given we had a different podium, I guess just to confirm it, it was after the disqualifications, Max P1, Lando P2, Sainz P3.
Correct. I guess we should also point out, because we had that so much going on that last weekend for recording, we didn't even do our mystery position. I didn't even notice until I'd finished with the edit. I'm just like, I feel like we're missing something here. So, but that's fine. Neither of us got that extra bonus point for the Ricciardo position anyway. So
we didn't get it for the Ricciardo, and we didn't get it for Hamilton P2 in the sprint either. We were both off on that one. So it turns out that due to the disqualification, you were lucky, and your Lando spot was bumped up into P2, which is quite nice for you, which ended up hurting me. So it means overall you gained 2 points while I only gained 1.5, which means that
every
your
little
lead
bit counts.
Has continued to grow, and I'm running out of time to catch up, but it's still close. It's if my math is correct, which again is questionable every weekend.
Very questionable.
I am on 33.5, and you are on 35.5.
Oh, that's...
So it could still be one weekend, could still change it, but...
That's pretty close to a good cushion. Buffer for my max guess as well.
Yep,
I'm getting... This is what I'm waiting for.
I guess you have to go into it. So look, I've maybe alluded at it. Maybe you're going to throw a curveball. P1, who have we got? Max or someone else?
Don't we do a random prediction first?
We do. I almost forgot it again.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long day. The number, this is a hard one, is 6.
Oh, I feel like we've had this one before as well. P6. Leclerc. I'll get it out early.
Yeah, Sainz then. I was going to say, it's one of the Ferraris.
It's got to be a Ferrari, yeah.
One of them's going to be P6. Yep. I think that might be the best place for Ferrari.
I feel like that Ferrari is just a P5, P6 at best car at this track.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think one of them, will get it. Probably a mixed bag which one, but...
yeah, at the moment, good. I mean, it's kind of good to see that every weekend it feels like they're just like... For a while there, it was just like one or the other, but it feels like every weekend they're sort of swapping back and forth and who's got the pace. So,
it's true. If the question was which of them would finish higher, good question. I don't know.
No,
I'm glad that's not the question. But yeah, so we've got that locked in now. So I guess going back again, your P1.
It is Max, yes.
Yes. You're wearing Max, so I mean, come on.
Yeah, I had to, of course.
Maybe you're wearing Checo, who knows, right?
It could happen. Could happen. But no, Max P1, like you say, they're already pretty strong here.
He loves it here. He loves this track.
He really does. And I just haven't seen enough, in terms of unreliability. This was going to be one of mine. If I'd started to see some unreliability in the races previous, we saw his sort of brake issues, but I don't know if I read too much into that, considering a lot of drivers.
If it was an ERS issue or a turbo issue or a gearbox issue, when it's brakes, you go, it's not really because the brakes are old and that there's something else at play. It's not a bigger technical issue you got to be worried about.
Exactly, yeah. If I started to see power unit issues on the Red Bull leading up to this, I'd be like, okay, maybe this could be one where they either have to turn the engine down, which could bring other teams into play, or they could just risk an engine failure because they've had to run it too hot and just blown an engine. But no, I've just seen none of that, so I can't see Max losing it unless there's something.
No, it's true.
Like a ticking time bomb, but.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, Red Bull is still yet to have like a proper like failure of a part kind of for this year. And we say we've only got 4 races left. Again, this feels like one of those years where normally at the start of the season we go, oh, it'll be interesting how it plays out in terms of who's going to take parts and penalties where.
Yeah, engine penalties.
And often this is a track where almost half the grid can sometimes take 5 to 10 places. But it like hasn't happened like at all from what I can remember. Maybe like 1 or 2 times for taking something early.
Quite crazy, hey.
It's not really the thing suddenly. So I guess the process has actually worked itself out for once. They're not just, saying, hey, don't take extra parts. And they go, well, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah, you don't get any of these, like, taking 60-place grid penalties for one race because they've just taken...
Exactly, for refreshing everything.
Yeah.
The only exception, I guess, not to hammer on it too much, but I guess the only exception we had was when the drivers did the change of setup for Austin, but that was more just because their setup in general needs to be changed rather than necessarily parts and everything like that. The replacement of So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 1 or 2 here, maybe take a 5, or maybe if some qualify, mid near the back. I wouldn't be surprised if Ferrari qualified poor. They might just do something to refresh, for the last few races. So we'll have to see. But no, I think. Yeah, max P1, I guess, is what we were still on.
Yep.
It's hard to bet against it.
Yep. Agreed.
I guess it depends. The big factor here, I know I've been on a tangent the last few races on Checo, my old best friend. This is his home circuit.
Yep.
He has traditionally done decent here. And again, we think this car should be probably best, all year, really. It's going to be here. It's a matter of whether you think that means he's in podium contention, or if you think just with his recent form, it's still out of the question. I think that's maybe the bit that I was calling on the most. So I'm interesting. Maybe we'll go your P3. I reckon we'll go with that. Maybe
very fitting because I've put Checo P3.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I just feel like like you say, he does like it here. I think he's come off. If he had like another absolute stinker at Austin, I might not have put him here. But he did have pace. As much as we can say that he looked probably the best he's looked in the last few races. And I think coming to his home Grand Prix where he does have a huge fan base, I think will just spur him on to do better than he has, and hopefully continue the upward trajectory, even if it is just for this one race. But and I think, like you say, that Red Bull should be pretty dominant here. If he's not on the podium, it's probably a big what are you doing? Hopefully he can do something in the back end of this season to at least show that he still belongs in Formula 1, still belongs at Red Bull. So
I have also got Checo on the podium. I guess my thought process
has he gone P2? Has he? Is he about to break out the match flag again?
This is my notes. Okay. I don't have a reflection going on here, do I? Where you can see. I think even if he's maybe still in the same performance that he has been the last few races, given the fact that this car is normally a rocket down the straight and it should be an extra rocket here, even if he starts halfway down the grid, he should just be able to breeze by everyone here. Like it's unless it's such a massive cock up, it's probably the freest passes he could make starting down the back here. So I have put him in P2 because of that. I think it's I think even anything lower than a P2 would be a disappointment. I think unless that Mercedes is far stronger than that I'm suspecting, right? But all signs point against it. And given that he even last year when he had a bit of a rocky few races, he still got together for a nice podium here. So something would have to go really wrong. We've again got the 3 practice sessions, which should give him more time. Normally these sprints, it feels like maybe he's not got as much time to get into things.
Yeah, true.
True. I figured, heck, the P2 here, the Red Bull 1 and 2. Let's see how he does. But that does leave one other spot on the podium.
Sure does.
I felt like it was a pretty easy pick from my side. I don't know who wants to go first.
You go. You go first. You go first.
Well, I have gone Lewis. I think it's hard to go against Lewis. Partly, as I say, even though I think the McLaren versus the Mercedes, I guess, as I say, the Mercedes has always been decent here. And maybe the McLaren... I still, it's hard to say. I don't know. Like I was saying, confident, but look, that's what I think it was like last week. Don't overthink it. Mercedes had some changes and they seem really comfortable, even at a track that was quite difficult. This feels similar to Austin, but it should be a lot like safer, less bumpier. Mercedes seems to do better when they've got more practice. And we saw that form that Lewis was on was just on fire. So even if I was judging between the two drivers, although I backed Russell last week, I can't really back him after that performance from Lewis, both in the sprint and the main race. So I've put him as P3. But I'm curious if you've gone down the same line or if you're still backing Orange in the back of that.
No, I got him P2. I got Hamilton P2.
Yeah, okay.
So, I think there's a couple of things going for that Mercedes. Like you say, the pace that we talked a lot about it in the Austin debrief, but particularly their race pace on low fuel. And I think throughout the entire year as well, their tyre wear generally is pretty good over the race distance. Yeah. I think the fact that they're taking one step softer tyres will actually play into their hands quite a lot. Because they'll be able, like they normally have trouble switching on the hard compound tyre if it is, when it's one of those hard tyres that's like, hey, maybe we've taken a step too high here.
Yes, they found it really hard to fire it up sometimes.
Yes. And I think this will bring in more of those compounds for the race strategy for them. So, and I think if that floor update that they showed in Austin is anything to go by, if they could tweak it more with, having the 3 practice sessions, the extra 30 minutes as well, obviously should help them hopefully dial that in. I think they could be really strong here. And I've tipped Hamilton to take P2. So, we'll go with that.
That's a fair bet. And I think, just to round it out, given that we were trying to keep this preview quick, but we found a little bit to discuss about. Again, given that we think cooling may be an issue because of, that low kind of air. And we saw from the Mercedes Zero Pod is that they've got a car, obviously they feel they can cool quite efficiently. So even though they've opened it up a bit, it should mean that if some teams are going to struggle, the likes of Ferrari, etc., it's unlikely Mercedes will be one of those that are also going to struggle. So it should play into this kind of mid-late kind of race, sprint that they get. Possibly even, as we say, challenging, not challenging, but they might be within a little bit of the Red Bulls. There's a chance there, right? Considering, as we say in Austin, if they were struggling a little bit with the heat and the wear, that's maybe their one advantage where we could see them catch up. But again, hopefully it just means we have a more interesting race weekend than last year, I'm hoping at least. A little less processional, maybe.
Yeah. Even if it's, again, just fights back down the order. I think the fact that everyone is so much closer than they were last year just adds that little bit of extra
100%
extra drama for every team. They really have to, and they have a lot of time to set it all up now, so maybe that could work for or against. We don't really know, but it's hard to know. We'll have to see.
Hopefully it's a good weekend, but we'll be back afterwards anyway, both to debrief the Mexican Grand Prix and to look ahead also to the Brazilian Grand Prix. So be sure to check your local time zones, because this one does happen a little bit of a funky hour. We were both discussing how it's actually a semi-favorable morning race for us. We could just squeeze it in before the day gets off without having to get up at that 4 a.m. graveyard shift. So that could work out quite nicely. But yes, do be sure to check to make sure you aren't spoiled, just in case it is a good one. So we'll be back afterwards anyway to debrief it all. And until then, you take care. We'll catch you around.
Goodbye.